Good morning, everybody. Let me do one thing here. I don't like the name things on here. Take that off. Good morning. Hopefully, you guys had a good weekend. Um, Mine was full and long. Um, More so because we went live twice on Too Strong, and both sessions were over 3 hours long. And that I don't man. It was taxing to say the least, very long, arduous, especially the time of night that it was. It's way past my bedtime. So um, we get a little bit of a reprieve today. So we're going to dive right into Hosea. Okay. We're going to dive right into Hosea. Thank you in advance, Terry. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, what we are going to discuss this morning is, like we said some time ago, the book of Hosea. Now, I looked back in my inventory and I did realize I covered quite a bit from it in 23. So, if you guys want a different perspective on the book, a different conversation about it, go back and look for those. Um, you can find the exact dates here. Um, yeah, so in May of 23, I covered more of the Gomer side of it, um, specifically, and that covered 3 days worth of. So I did it on the 16th, the 18th, and the 19th of May in 23. So it's been a year and a half now, more almost 2 years since I covered it last. So we are not like we're trying to beat a dead horse. You can't. It's not dead. Welcome, Chris. So let's talk about Hosea, the book. All right. Well, just now understand how this particular, at least how we were going to do it here. Again, I'm going to make my disclaimer. Scholar, I'm not. So if you're looking for somebody to be going into what this word means and that word means and where this is referenced somewhere else and all that's we read the book for the book. Okay. So we're going to read Hosea like any other regular, normal, normie, non-schooled reader of the Bible. Because like I keep saying, the book is pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward. I think I have. It depends on what you mean by healing. I did one in 24 in August about a guy named Dwayne Miller, but I don't think I've done one specifically on healing. So no, not really. All right, so let's begin the reading, shall we? Hosea's unfaithful wife. The word of the Lord that came to Hosea, the son of Berai, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, king of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam and the son of Joash, king of Israel. When the Lord began to speak by Hosea, the Lord said to Hosea, Go, take yourself a wife of harlotry and children of harlotry from the land, for the land has committed great harlotry by departing from the Lord. Now, um, you read that, and you have your first question has to be, why? Why are you doing that? Why would you need me to do this, Lord? The one thing you don't see is Hosea doing that. He don't ask why. He, he does not. Hold on one second. I have to keep reminding these people to turn my heater back on. Anyway, yeah, hang on one second. You'll be hearing a beeping. Okay, there we go. So he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Debelium, and she conceived and bore him a son. Then the Lord said to him, call his name Jezreel, for in a little while I will avenge the bloodshed of Jezreel on the house of Jehu, and bring an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel. It shall come to pass in that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel. Now, this entire book you're going to find is kind of a judgment on Israel itself. And the way God goes about dealing with this is, I would call it a comparison. The comparison is that I will be taking, just like Israel has been adulterous, I'll be showing you exactly what happens within the adulterous relationship. And even though you're adulterous, I still took you as a bride. So you're going to be seeing that reference between all. It's not even going to be like faked. It's going to be just like it said there. There's going to be a reference between the two, which is why I tell you the Bible is pretty straightforward. I don't got to jump back and forth the verse here and back in that chapter and that. It tells you right away why he's doing and requesting what he requests. And she conceived again and bore a daughter. Then God said to him, call her name Lo Romana, and I will no longer have mercy on the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. Yet I will have mercy on the house of Judah, will save them by the Lord their God, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword or battle, by horses nor horsemen. Now that's very significant, because a lot of people today, anyway, I'll go into that another time, but a lot of people today um, want you to respect everyone that says they are Israelite or from Israel or of Israel. I want people to understand that that's not ever what the Bible says in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I just, I just want you to know. So it's not like people say I stand with this. No, you could stand with Israel. That's fine. I mean, that's politically fine, I guess. But to say that if I don't stand with Israel, I'm going against God. I don't know about all that. Not all that says they are of Israel are Israel. Okay, so I'm just saying. There is a certain behavior that the people of God have. There's a certain view of God that the people of God have, and not everybody that says they are Israel are following God. So you can't just say you stand with blanket Israel. That's not how this works. Now, when she had weaned Lo Ruhamah, she conceived and bore a son, and God said, "Call his name Lo Ami, for you are not my people, and I will not be your God." Wow. Now that's a pretty harsh statement, wouldn't you say? That I mean, I'm reading it, and if I were to just take it what it says, that's confirming what I think, right? He says he's going to be making a judgment through this union that Hosea and Gomer have, to reflect that of Israel. And the only one he's going to have mercy on is the line of Judah. Who came from the line of Judah? And he said he wasn't going to save them by sword, save them by any of that political means, war means. He was going to save them by some other means, just the house of Judah. Mercy is where it's going to come from, is the house of Judah. Okay. People say Jesus don't exist. These people are crazy. Anyway, the restoration of Israel. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be like the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured or numbered. Now remember who else he promised that to. And just like with any other promise, he fulfills, right? He promised Abraham exactly this. This is exactly what he promised Abraham. His offspring shall be like the sands of the sea, limitless. They'll be uncountable, which cannot be measured or numbered, until it shall come to pass in the place where it was said to them, you are not my people. There it shall be said to them, you are sons of the living God. Then the children of Judah and the children of Israel shall be gathered together and appoint for themselves one head, and they shall come out of the land, for great will be the day of Jezreel. So let's get clarification in chapter 2. The Lord's love for his unfaithful people. Say to your brethren, my people, and to your sisters, mercy is shown. Bring charges against your mother, bring charges, for she is not my wife, nor am I her husband. Let her put away her harlotries from her sight, and her adulteries from between her breasts, lest I strip her naked and expose her as the day she was born, and make her like the wilderness, and set her like a dry land, and slay her with thirst. I will not have mercy on her children, for they are the children of harlotry. For their mother has played the harlot. She who conceived them has behaved shamefully, for she said, I will go after my lovers, who give me my bread and my water, my wool, my linen, my oil, and my drink. Therefore, behold, I will hedge up your ways with thorns, and wall her in, so that she cannot find her path. She shall chase her lovers, but not overtake them. She shall seek them, but not find them. Then she will say, I will go and return to my first husband, for then it was better for me than now. For she did not know that I gave her grain, new wine, and oil, and multiplied her silver and gold, which they prepared for Baal. Now, a key criteria here, as you read all before, is the turning back to, which is why I said in the onset that just because you are called something about Israel does not mean you belong to God, because to be there, you have to turn back. There is an avenue, there is mercy, but the mercy is not extended while you decide to remain in rebellion. I think many of us forget this. This is not, I don't think it's rocket science. I don't think it's difficult to understand. But unfortunately, what has happened today, both in the religious sect and in the believers sect, is that they say now, oh, God has mercy on everybody. No, 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 his mercy is there for everybody. It's not that he has it on everybody, it is offered to everybody, but not everybody takes it. So if you don't take his mercy, you're not going to be covered by it. If you don't accept the criteria of said mercy by understanding who you are before him, there will be no mercy. If Israel doesn't turn, how are you going to be protected by God? Every time they rebelled, he left. They paid the consequences. Just because they were his people does not mean they always stayed protected by God, because sometimes they chose to leave the protection. But they kept wanting what they wanted, cake and eat it syndrome. Therefore, I will return and take away my grain in its time and my new wine in its season, and I will take back my wool and my linen, given to cover her nakedness. Now, that seems awful familiar, too. What does that seem to be repeating? There's something about that line that's been said before. And this doesn't take a scholar, by the way, to know that where that was said before. He did something akin to this with Adam and Eve, did he not? Just after rebellion, he still gave them clothing to cover up. And no one shall deliver her from my hand, and I will also cause all her mirth to cease, her feast days, new moon, Sabbath, all appointed feasts. And I will destroy her vines and fig trees, of which she had said, these are my wages that my lovers have given me. So I will make them a forest, and the beast of the field shall eat them. I will punish her for the days of Baal, to which she burned incense, and decked herself with earrings and jewelry, and went after her lovers. But me she forgot, says the Lord. Now, I could do a whole bunch of um, parallels to today's society and today's wanderer and today's believer, and how when we turn and I could make a whole emotional message out of that, but that is not what we're doing with Hosea. We are reading Hosea for the time frame that it was and for what it's saying in the future, but not in terms of our day-to-day activity. I'm not doing that. If you want to yield it from it, you can, but we're not talking about it like that. What I want you to understand here is this is God's judgment on his people. This is not judgment on sinners. This is not judgment on the people that aren't called Israel. We are talking about this particular type of judgment is on his people, ones who said they belonged to him. And I think all too often we feel like we are not that we shouldn't be judged. No, not at least not like, and we shouldn't especially not judge each other. I mean, come on. It's an interesting thought process. I don't know where we got that from anyway. God's mercy on his people. Therefore, behold, I will allure her, will bring her into the wilderness and speak comfort to her. I will give her vineyards from there, and the valley of Achor as a door of hope. And she shall sing there, all as in the days of her youth. Now remember, where is he taking her to? The wilderness, right? Now, I don't know, some of you might be outdoorsy people. Huh? Some of you might like the outdoors. But the wilderness by itself is not the most safe location, nor is it the most cush location. It's nice and fancy and beds everywhere. The wilderness is just that. It's wild. But it's in the wilderness that he's going to give her vineyards. Not in the posh, not in the rich, in the wilderness. What does the wilderness have that he's going to do that? You see, in the wilderness, you would require a lot of help. You don't have what you normally have. You don't have your stuff. You have to depend. And so in the wilderness is the best place to depend on God. And that's where he's brought Israel to, the wilderness. And it shall be in that day, says the Lord, that you will call me my husband and no longer call me my master. For I will take from her mouth the names of the Baals, and they shall be remembered by their name no more. In that day I will make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, and with the creeping things on the ground. Bow and sword of battle I will shatter from the earth to make them lie down safely. Now, again, I don't know when that happened, if it happened already, when it's going to happen. It's not a concern of mine necessarily, and I'll tell you why. Because this particular letter is to Israel, it is for the Israelites to understand. But most importantly, I want you to look at what the transition happens here is from master to husband. But is there really a transition out of master? What was the definition of husbands at the time of God implementing it? There was a dominion factor, was there not? The only difference is the what you'd call me. There is still a headship going on here. The difference is how Israel viewed God. That's the only difference. I will betroth you to me forever. Yes, I will betroth you to me in righteousness and justice, in loving kindness and mercy. I will betroth you to me in faithfulness, and you shall know the Lord. It shall come to pass in that day that I will answer, says the Lord. I will answer the heavens, and they shall answer the earth. The earth shall answer with grain, new wine, oil, and shall answer Jezreels. Then I will sow her for myself in the earth, and I will have mercy on who had not obtained mercy, And I will say to those who are not my people, you are my people. And they shall say, you are my God. Now, what does that sound like? That part's already happened. That part has already happened. Now, remember, again, I'm not saying that we, like I said, I wasn't going to be jumping back and forth, but some things it just tells you outright. In the New Testament, we had talked about a grafting in to the branches of a tree that were not of that tree. And it was done so by means that were not of swords and violence and bows and shields. It was done so by the sacrifice of Jesus. So, what you're seeing here is the decision that God has made to graft everyone into a relationship of not just peoples, but of a marriage. Him being the husband and them being the wife. Both the unfaithful bringing back to God and people who are not of his to God. That's the beauty of what God did through Jesus. That is the absolute beauty of it. Is that even with the rebellious ones that he had called his people in the Old Testament, in his way to get them back, he grafted more in. Chapter 3. Then the Lord said to me, go again, love a woman who is loved by a lover and is committing adultery, just like the love of the Lord for the children of Israel, who took to other gods and loved the raisin cakes of the pagans. So I bought her for myself for 15 shekels of gold, silver, and one half homers of barley. And I said to her, you shall stay with me many days. You shall not play the harlot, nor shall you have a man. So too will I be toward you. For the children of Israel shall abide many days without king or prince, without sacrifice or pillar, without ephod or teraphim. Afterward, the children of Israel shall return and seek the Lord their God and David their king. They shall fear the Lord and his goodness in the latter days. Now, if you remember, there was a period in Israel where they did not have a king. Anybody remember what that period was called at all? Anyone at all? Anyone? And you remember what that period was? Let's test your little bit of Bible knowledge if you read a lot. No? Nobody know? Nobody know? Anybody? I'm I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Remember, I'll have you read it again. The children of Israel shall abide many days without king or prince, without sacrifice or pillar, without ephod or teraphim. Afterward, the children of Israel shall return and seek the Lord their God and David their king. The judges, they had nothing, nothing at all. They were without. Hear the word of the Lord, you children of Israel, for the Lord brings a charge against the inhabitants of the land. Do you remember too this constant request for Israel and God's people to be faithful? He's always called this. And he's constantly giving reminders to us to be faithful. Okay. But even in that request to be faithful, you see a constant rebellion as an undertone. But there's always too, with that, a avenue of repentance and a turning back. and an open door, a very open door. No, no, it would not make us Jews. No, it would not. In fact, if you were to look at this, Jewish people were his people. That's what he called them. But remember, he's grafting people that would be called his people. But by definition, a Jew is not just his people. You get what I mean? So no, you just by grafting wouldn't make you a Jew. It just make you his people, make you his bride. Not a Jew, just his people. But so no, we are not Jews. There is no truth or mercy or knowledge of God in the land. By swearing and lying, killing and stealing, committing adultery, they break all restraint with bloodshed upon bloodshed. Therefore, the land will mourn, and everyone who dwells there will waste away. With the beast of the field and the bird of the air and the fish of the sea will be taken away. Now let no man contend or rebuke another, for your people are like those who contend with the priest. Therefore you shall stumble in the day. The prophet also shall stumble with you in the night, and I will destroy your mother. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I will also reject you from being priests for me. Because you have forgotten the law of your God, I will also forget your children. Now, this line, you've heard this line before. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. You hear people quote that all the time. Now, every time you hear that quoted, I've seen, at least from my perspective, every time they say that, they say it in the context of, you know what? It's because we don't know our history. Or, you know what? It's because you don't know the Bible. Or, you know what? It's because you don't know this. But that's not even what it's talking about. This is talking about a knowledge of a who, not a what. A who, not a what. This is the New King James Version, by the way. Let me not get your name wrong this time. This is the New King James Version. Laila. Laila. Tequila. Laila. Not making fun of him. I'm making sure I get it right. I have to keep saying it in funny ways so my brain remembers it. No, they don't. They forgot him. They have forgotten him. They've forgotten the knowledge of God. This is not knowledge of your history and your bloodline and all that stuff. This is not what this is. But we love to think that, because that's where we seem to vest our worth, is in how much we know, not the who, the how much. The more they increased, the more they sinned against me. I will change their glory to shame. They will eat up the sin of my people. They will set their heart on their iniquity. And it shall be like people like priests. So I will punish them for their ways and reward them for their deeds. And they shall eat but not have enough. And they shall commit harlotry but not increase, because they have ceased obeying the Lord. Harlotry, wine, and new wine enslave the heart. My people ask counsel from their wooden idols, and their staff informs them. Idol worship, by the way. For the spirit of harlotry has caused them to stray, and they have played the harlot against their God. They offer sacrifices on the mountaintops and burn incense on the hills, under oaks, pillars, terebinths, because their shade is good. Therefore your daughters commit adultery, and your brides commit adultery. This is a blatant explanation of what happens when you stray. It's almost as though you can hear him saying, every time you stray and forget me, not only is the punishment the same, but the behavior seems to be almost identical every time. So this is the first time I'm going to show a correlation to today. Every time a nation forgets God, There is a natural progression of behavior every time without fail. This has nothing to do with the spirit of this and the spirit of that. It is just a natural reaction to forgetting God. Every time you turn, you prostitute yourself to what you go after. Isn't it weird that every time he's mentioned this is exactly what is reflected in the culture? Sodom and Gomorrah turned away from God. What was the number one pervasive behavior in Sodom and Gomorrah? The Roman Empire, number one pervasive behavior. America, the number one pervasive behavior of those that turn and leave God. Look at it this way. Do you know how often it is that you see people that are holding up signs and saying Jesus is coming or something like that? And the first person to walk up to them is somebody that's either for abortion, for every kind of sexual orientation, or something like that. You don't find that kind of odd that they're for death and they're for fornication every time, all the time, without fail? At what point do you realize it's not coincidence? It is the natural progression of the human condition apart from God. Without God, the number one thing you do is give into self, right? Yeah, so you give into self, and the number one trait that pops out, the number one trait that pops out is self fulfillment. And the best iteration of that is sexual perversion. Who would have thought that it was told to us already in Hosea that that's how it was going to be? Which is why you can't be surprised with the way things are going. Okay, look, for a while I was always like, why? And the people keep saying they're going after the children. They're going, yes, they're going after children. But again, listen to me. This is a natural, when I say natural, I do mean natural. This is a natural way that the body, mind, flesh will activate when they're not in line with God. It happened to Israel, for crying out. It happened all the time in the Old Testament. Every nation, every tongue that went away and disobeyed God, they all went that direction. Every last one of them. There wasn't a single exception, not one exception in the book. So why are we surprised when people reject God here in America or anywhere else on earth that the number one thing that that nation goes to is decadence? Why are we surprised? I don't know why we're surprised. I really don't. I will punish your daughters when they commit harlotry and your brides when they commit adultery. And for the men themselves to go apart with harlots and offer sacrifices with a ritual harlot. Therefore, people who do not understand will be trampled. Though you, Israel, play the harlot, let not Judah offend. Do not come up to Gilgal. Do not go up to Bethaven, nor swear an oath, saying, and the Lord lives. For Israel is stubborn like a stubborn calf. Now the Lord will let them forage like a lamb in open country. Ephraim is joined to idols. Let him alone. Their drink is rebellion. They commit harlotry continually. Her rulers dearly love dishonor. The wind has wrapped her up in its wings, and they shall be ashamed because of their sacrifices. Now, remember when Jesus sent out his. Do you remember that? In Matthew, there was a statement made to his disciples. In Matthew 10, it says that when Jesus called the 12 disciples, he gave them power over unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal all kinds of sickness and all kinds of diseases. Now remember, every time the nation goes away from God, every manner of rebellion takes place. Now the names of the 12 apostles were Simon, who's called Peter, Andrew, James of Zebedee, John his brother, Philip, Bartholomew, Thomas, Matthew the tax collector, John the son of Alphaeus, and Labadus, and Thaddeus, Simon, Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. Sending out the 12. The 12 were sent out and commanded them, saying, do not go into the way of the Gentiles, and do not enter a city of the Samaritans, but go rather to the lost house of Israel. And go, as you go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out demons freely. You've received, freely give. Neither give gold, provide neither gold nor silver or copper for your money belts, nor bag for your journey, nor 2 tunics, nor sandals, nor staff, for a worker is worthy of his food. Now, it wasn't until Paul that he did the second portion of the statement here in Hosea, where he says he was going to be grafting those of Israel and those of not of the house. He sent the 12 specifically to the lost house of Israel. When Paul came, when he called Paul, Paul was sent specifically to graft. Paul was sent with the grafting message. The 12 were sent with the message to the lost house to prep them for said grafting. And this is all spoken about right here in Hosea. That he was not going to do any of this reconstruction of the body, his people, by means of war. He was not going to do it by means of bow and shields and swords and clashes. He was going to be doing it differently, with mercy. With mercy. He sent his 12 specifically because of that number. The rebellion. And it says it right here. He mentions them right here. And I find that kind of cool. I find that extremely cool. Like, I really like reading the book just to see exactly how he laid this out and told us what he was going to do. So when people tell me that is not, Jesus isn't spoken about and this process isn't spoken about, oh yeah, it is. Not just spoken about, prophesied about. Prophesied about. Which is why people like Paul, when I hear people try to denounce him as one sent of God and his gospel is false, because there are people that think that, by the way. I have to wonder if they've read the book at all. I really have to wonder if they've ever read the Bible itself, like in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Understanding salvation. I don't think they do. I really don't think they do. Because if they did, they would have at least seen this. Impending judgment on Israel and Judah. Hear this, O priest. Take heed, O house of Israel. Give ear, O house of the king. For yours is the judgment, because you have been a snare to Mizpah and a net spread on Tabor. The revolters are deeply involved in slaughter, though I rebuke them all. I know Ephraim, and Israel is not hidden from me. Oh, for now, Ephraim, you commit harlotry. Israel is defiled. They do not direct their deeds towards God, towards turning to their God, for the spirit of harlotry is in their midst, and they do not know the Lord. Remember, lack of knowledge. When I told you that the book itself is not difficult to read, it is not difficult to understand. However, when you take your own biases and your own wish and wants into the book, you will find a whole lot of discrepancies. And this is where you'll find people say, well, the Bible contradicts itself. No, the Bible contradicts your version of the Bible. You are confused by what the book says because you are reading into the book something that you want to believe. And when it's not corroborated somewhere else, oop, discrepancy. Discrepancy. It's not a discrepancy. It says right here, it says it right here. They do not know the Lord. The pride of Israel testifies to its face. Therefore, Israel and Ephraim stumble in their iniquity. Judah also stumbles with them. With their flocks and herds, they shall go and seek the Lord, but they will not find him. He has withdrawn himself from them. They have dealt treacherously with the Lord, for they have begotten pagan children. Now a new moon shall devour them and their heritage. You know, I keep listening to why it is that people are looking at Israel, modern day Israel, the way they look at it. I'm going to make my first political correlation here. Y'all can disagree if you feel the need. Israel is being looked at the way they are right now and is in the kinds of conflicts that they're in right now because they are living in rebellion. They do not follow God. Whatever you call Israel now, and I'm not talking about the Zionists, I forget all that. That's just terms that you're giving to things that is just basically called rebellion. They do not know the Lord. They don't. So what did he say was going to happen when you turn? You are going to be destroyed. No, duh. So all our standing with Israel doesn't matter if they're not standing with God. Why am I going to stand with Israel in their rebellion? You answer me that question. If I can blatantly see them not turning back to God, why am I standing with them? Just make it make sense to me. That's all I want. Am I for God's people? Yes. But here's the problem. When you can blatantly see something like it's listed right here, are they dealing treacherously with the Lord? Yes. Have they begotten pagan children? Yes. They are doing everything in their power right now to not turn. But is that going for everyone in Israel? No, because I am 100% sure that there are people in Israel that are seeking the Lord. I'm positive of that. But as a whole, as a people, overall, they're not. They are not. In fact, I'm going to try and find you some proof. Watch this. Let me see here. I want to make sure I get this completely right. All right. This is a statement about modern day Israel. And I want you to listen carefully. Please listen carefully. And you can tell me if this is living in rebellion or not. Now, remember what Hosea was talking about. They have given themselves over to Baal. Okay. And they've given themselves over to foreign gods, right? This is what Hosea is denouncing in Israel. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer rights in Israel are considered the most developed in the Middle East and among the most developed in Asia. Although same sex sexual activity was legalized in 1988, the former law against sodomy has not been enforced since a court decision in 1963. So I want you to understand something. As a nation, they are rebellious. With the title called Israel, they are rebellious. And here we are reading about them being rebellious in the days of Hosea. Okay. Blow the ram's horn in Gibeah, the trumpet in Ramah. Cry aloud at Bethaven. Look behind you, O Benjamin. Ephraim shall be desolate in the day of rebuke. Among the tribes of Israel, I will make known what is sure. The princes of Judah are like those who remove a landmark. I will pour out my wrath on them like water. That's why, over time, whenever I see something happening over there, I'm silent on it. You know why I'm silent on it? Why do you think I never speak on things over in Israel? Well, why do you think I don't address anything about the Israel and the Palestinian conflict over here? I'm not jumping in on God's judgment at all. It's already been spoken about. Israel is under judgment still, and they refuse to turn. So as long as you refuse to turn, why am I stressing over what happens to you? You bringing this stuff on yourself. You've been look. All, if you recognize, to all the treaties that they have ever been trying to make, all these man-made treaties, and this goes back a long way, a very long way. If you look at it, you'll realize that none of those treaties work. It never works at all. This has been going on for decades upon decades upon decades upon decades. Since the 50s, they've been trying to make peace treaty with this one and peace treaty with this one and trying to make friends with the enemies of God. Every time they make a friend with the enemy of God, it falls apart. And it tells you that is exactly what is happening to them, because it will keep happening as long as they stay rebellious. Ephraim is oppressed and broken in judgment because he willingly walked in human precept. No duh. Therefore, I will be to Ephraim like a moth, and to the house of Judah like rottenness. When Ephraim saw his sickness and Judah saw his wound, and Ephraim went to Assyria and sent to King Jareb, you cannot cure you. Yet he cannot cure you. Nothing they can do will help, nor heal you of your wound, for I will be like a lion to Ephraim and a young lion to the house of Judah. And I, even I, will tear them and go away. And I will take them away, and no one shall rescue. I will return again to my place till they acknowledge their offense. Then they will seek my face. In their affliction, they will earnestly seek me. You see, this book of Hosea is indeed a condemnation on not just Israel, because remember, he talked in here about the grafting in. This is a condemnation on everyone who turns and rebels against God. We consider it, oh, I'm just making my choice. Yes, okay, you make your choice, and you decide not to follow God. Okay. So why complain about your life after you've rebelled? Everyone who's rebelling right now is complaining about this is going wrong and that is going wrong and how this is happening with the kids and this is happening with it. But we've turned. We have turned. We've always been rebellious. Things that are happening in Israel, highest trafficking level that you ever find in the Middle East is happening in Israel. Did you know that Israel is a hotbed for trafficking, not just for the Middle East, but they facilitate trafficking via Ukraine? Did you know that? The reason they can do all that is because they are in rebellion against their God. It really is that simple. The reason they can allow every single religion that you want to have there, except for a few, it's because of rebellion. Chapter 6. Come, let us return to the Lord, for he has torn, but he will heal us. He has stricken, but he will bind us up. After 2 days, he will revive us. On the third day, he will raise us up, that we may live in his sight. Weird, huh? Isn't that kind of crazy that he mentions that? That's coincidental, though, right? Is that coincidental? I don't think it's coincidental, people. I don't think that's a coincidental statement at all. Let us know, let us pursue the knowledge of the Lord, not of your history, not of your bloodline, not of whether you is a this and a that, not knowledge of the book, not knowledge of how the timeline is, knowledge of God. People perish for lack of knowledge of God. This is the second time he's mentioned what that knowledge is in Hosea. His going forth is established as the morning. He will come to us like the rain, like the latter and the former rain to the earth. Impenitence of Israel and Judah. O Ephraim, what shall I do to you? O Judah, what shall I do to you? For your faithfulness is like the morning cloud, and like the early dew, it goes away. Wow. Therefore, I have hewn them by the prophets. I have slain them by the words of my mouth, and your judgments are like light that goes forth. For I desire mercy and not sacrifice, and knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. He keeps coming back. Every minute, he keeps coming back to this knowledge of God. And if you watch the Sadducees and the Pharisees of the day of Jesus, all they were harping on is what they know about what they were and how they became priests and what they know and how people don't know and what they don't, but they never knew who. They didn't even know God to the point where they recognized the Messiah. In all their knowledge, they were waiting on one. When the one showed up, couldn't recognize it because their knowledge of God was gone. Gone. But like men, they transgressed the covenant. There they dealt treacherously with me. Gilead is a city of evildoers and defiled with blood, as bands of robbers lie in wait for a man, so the company of priests murder on the way to Shechem. Surely they commit lewdness. I have seen a horrible thing in the house of Israel. There is harlotry in Ephraim, Israel is defiled, and also Judah. A harvest is appointed for you when I return the captives of my people. When I would have healed Israel, then the iniquity of Ephraim was uncovered, and the wickedness of Samaria, for they have committed fraud. A thief comes in, a band of robbers takes spoil outside. They do not consider in their hearts that I remember all their wickedness. Now their own deeds have surrounded them. They are before my face. They make a king glad with their wickedness and princes with their lies. They are all adulterers. Like an oven heated by a baker, he ceases stirring the fire after kneading the dough until it is leavened in the day of our king. Princes have made him sick, inflamed with wine. He stretches out his hand with scoffers. They prepare their hearts like an oven, while they lie in wait. Their baker sleeps at night. In the morning it burns like a flame of fire. They are all hot like an oven, and have devoured their judges, and their kings have fallen. None of them calls upon me. None of them. Ephraim has mixed itself among the peoples. Ephraim is like a cake unturned. Aliens have devoured his strength, but he does not know it. Yes, gray hairs are here and there on him, yet he does not know it. And the pride of Israel testifies to his face, and they do not return to their Lord, nor seek him for all of this. In all of this crap that's going on, they're still not turning. This is why when I hear people say, if you only get me out of this, why not just find him while you're in it? Why are you looking for God to save you out of something while talking to him when you can just turn to him and in it, even if he decides to leave you in there, find him? You see Israel here going through all kinds of mess, and they're so blind to it because of their lack of knowledge of God, who would show them when something is off. Ephraim also is like a silly dove without sense. They call to Egypt, they go to Assyria. What are the odds that this particular statement would be in here? And you look at the state of affairs of Israel now. Is that something that you think maybe perhaps might be, again, coincidental? When people tell me the Bible ain't real and the Bible is fake and the Bible don't know what it's talking about, and I'm looking at the Bible, reading it at something that happened, they wrote this forever before what we see now. And it's telling you exactly what you're seeing now. How is that possible? Wherever they go, I will spread my net on them. I will bring them down like birds of the air. I will chastise them according to what their congregation has heard. Woe to them, for they have fled from me. Destruction to them, because they have transgressed against me. Though I redeemed them, yet they have spoken lies against me. They do not cry out to me with their heart when they wailed upon their beds. All fake. Just get me out of this, God. Get me out of this, and I'll be fine. If you just save me right here, I'll follow you till the ends of the earth. They cry out, but they still don't turn. They still transgress. They still don't repent. He's redeemed them, and they still turn. They still lie. They assemble together for grain and new wine. They rebel against me, though I discipline and strengthen their arms, yet they devise evil against me. They return, but not to the Most High. They are like a treacherous bow. Their princes shall fall by the sword, for their cursings of their tongue. This shall be their derision in the land of Egypt. Chapter 8. Set the trumpet to your mouth. He shall come like an eagle against the house of the Lord, because they have transgressed my covenant and rebelled against my law. Israel will cry to me, my God, we know you. Israel has rejected the good. The enemy will pursue him. What is happening now? What is happening now? It's not really a mystery when you think about it, Adrian. You know why it's not a mystery? Because he has already said he will have mercy on whom he has mercy. That's why it's not a mystery. It's already been spoken to of it. They're his because he says so. And for as long, and because he's long suffering and patient, and still a good father, he will chastise for as long as necessary to bring to knowledge those who will listen. So it's not really a surprise. To us, it might seem a surprise. Now, I would consider it stupid on mankind to keep rebelling, but mankind is built on folly since the fall. So is it really that surprising, even that way? It's not. None of it's really surprising. It may not fit our idea of justice, however, but it's not surprising. They set up kings, but not by me. They made princes, but I did not acknowledge them. From their silver and gold, they made idols for themselves, that they might be cut off. Your calf is rejected, O Samaria. My anger is aroused against them. How long until they attain innocence? For from Israel is even this: a workman has made it, and it is not God. But the calf of Samaria shall be broken to pieces. They sow the wind, they reap the whirlwind. The stalk has no bud, it shall never produce meal. If it should produce, aliens would swallow it up. Do you see it? Do you see what's going on here? Okay, good. Israel is swallowed up. Now they are among the Gentiles, like a vessel in which is no pleasure. For they have gone up to Assyria like a wild donkey alone by itself. Ephraim has hired lovers. Yes, through though they have hired among the nations, now I will gather them, and they shall sorrow a little, because of the burden of the king of princes. Because Ephraim has made many altars for sin. They have become for him altars for sinning. I have written for him the great things of my law, but they have considered it a strange thing. For the sacrifices of my offerings, they sacrifice flesh and eat it, but the Lord does not accept them. Kind of like Cain. Now he will remember their iniquity and punish their sins. They shall return to Egypt. For Israel has forgotten his maker and has built temples. Judah has multiplied fortified cities, but I will send fires upon his cities and shall devour his palaces. You know, this is part of what he is hoping for when he told us to be at peace and know. A lot of us will look at things and say it's difficult to find peace with all the turmoil going on. And then yet another few of us will say, well, why is all this turmoil going on? Where is God? That I don't even know why that's a question as to where is God. Your question should be, why have we rebelled? There is a built-in consequence to everything that happens here on earth. Everything. Not just a built-in consequence, but a built-in promise. We ask the wrong questions. We always ask the wrong questions. Why is this happening? Why is that happening? It happens because of rebellion. It happens because you don't know the Lord. If you knew the Lord and you were following him, none of this would be happening. But we have rebelled. Mankind lives perpetually in rebellion, and rebellion as itself, as it is right by itself, carries consequences. That consequence is distance from God and his blessing of protection, provision. When you stray, this is what you get. It's what you get. It is not where God, where are you? Where are you? He's right there. We moved. We moved. Israel moved. Israel is going through the turmoil it's going through, where they have to try and set up their own little defense system and fight people off continually for days on end, years on end, millennia on end, because they refuse to turn. They don't want to. But God, God in Hosea has already told you that he was going to set something up to bring not only the house of Israel, but the Gentiles as well to him, to be part of his house and his people. And he shall move from being master to husband. And that is exactly what Jesus preached the entire time he was here. He even gave the exact same example of what he was to the church. He was the husband. Yes, master, but husband. He said it. He said it. Our issue here is not that we are in a state where things are bad because God allows it. We're in a state where things are bad because we rebel. Things are bad because we rebel. It is not bad because God just says, I'm done. Because he's still there. You can still find him. But he also said, seek him while he may be found. There will come a time where you cannot find him anymore. There will come a time where all the seeking will do you no good. All the things going on today are consequences of rebellion. All the things going on today has been spoken about before. They repeat, just like Solomon said, nothing is new. Every time you turn, every time you rebel, every time you disobey, there is a consequence that it's built into your action. Thank you, Maddie. It's built in there. Unavoidable, inescapable, it's there. I understand why we don't want to accept that. Because in a lot of ways, we don't think we have done that much bad stuff. Heck, I still know people who, well, I don't pillage and I don't rape and I don't murder and I don't do this and I don't do that. It's almost like you have tiers of forgiveness. Like, I only need a little forgiveness because I've only done a little bad. Now, there are tons of people who have done a lot bad and they need a lot of forgiveness. I will say this again. The forgiveness that God offers is not based on how much bad or good you've done. It is based on your status before the throne. And all of us, before accepting the new life of Christ, is worthy of one punishment, death. And that is the punishment for the big sin and the little sin, and the mass amounts of them and the little bit of incurrences. It's death. Point blank, period, death. So looking at yourself as thinking, well, it's not that bad. No, it is. It is. Now, here's the flip side to it. The recognizing of oneself before God and who you are before Him and who He is above you, that recognition and acceptance that, yes, I am worthy of death and Christ paid that price for me. And for that reason, I will enter into that sacrifice and put myself to death, just like He offered that way in for me, so that I can put on His life and live as part of His family by wearing His name. If I am wearing His name and I'm a part of His family, I can no longer identify by my former. And people who keep wanting me to identify with my former keep wishing that I identify. I'm not the former. If you say you have put on Christ, there is no way you can be your former. So stop identifying yourself by the former. That would be no different than someone that gets married and still identifies everywhere they go as a single person. But I just happen to be married. I'm single. I just happen to be married. So are you single? No, no, no. I'm married. So why are you saying that you're single? Because I'm single. Because I used to be single. I got married, but because I'm a married single. I'm, I'm a married signal. So damn, that's it. Just think of it this way. I'm a single person. Yes, okay. Are you married? Yes. Then you're not single. No, I am. I am. I just happen to be married. That's how silly you sound trying to say, yeah, I'm a sinner. And you're saved? Yes. And you belong to Christ? Yes. But you're a sinner. Yep. Isn't that what He saved you from? Yes. Being a sinner? Yes. But you're a sinner still? Yes. No, you're not. No, no, yeah, I am. How? How? Now, is that married person still capable of doing the single things of being stupid? Yeah, because the pull is still there. But you know what keeps you? Knowing you're married. Like, I don't know how this is difficult. I, I don't see how this is difficult. Mm, you're not going to go around telling everybody you're single when you're not, right? Good. So why are you a sinner if you're saved? You say that so you have the excuse of doing the things you want to do. You say that to keep the excuse open. This is all Israel did all day long. We are of God. But your behavior doesn't say that you're no, no. Well, we're of God. It says it right in Hosea. We're of God, but you don't know Him. No, not really. We don't really know Him. So you're not of God. No, no. We rebelled long ago. We all have the flesh that we will war against until the day of our exiting from this mortal coil. He said with His own mouth that each one, when you are tempted, I will make a way of escape that you may be able to bear it. It says so. So this whole thing that I am is no, no, you choose it. You want to rebel at this particular time and you give in to it. Say that. Now, there is forgiveness for it. Yes. But when you say that you are that thing, you will perpetually do the thing that it's attached to. And many of us, unfortunately, take that title and then we match it with salvation and grace. And then we say, well, grace will always be there. And God knows I'm a sinner. When in the same book it says, shall we continue like that so that we may say grace is there? That that's what people do. Th- Thank you, John. Thank you, John. I maybe it's just me, And you and the rest of us in here that we might be crazy. We might just be crazy. And if that's the case, okay, we insane. Tomorrow we'll pick up from chapter 9 to 14. Because I say, the book flows pretty easily. It flows pretty easily. And you might find a few more quotes in the rest of the chapters that you've heard misused. You might hear a few more that were misused. Exactly. Exactly. And this is exactly the reason that Israel is in the space it's in right now. We are the chosen ones. Okay. So we can't do any wrong. But while they're doing wrong, but they'll keep telling you they're the chosen one. It's a blanket. It's a hedge. It's a cover for them. Just like people who say, I'm a Christian, I'm a sinner, but I'm a saved sinner. It's your blanket. It's your security blanket for when you do something, you can say to yourself, well, this is just what I am, and God knows it. Really? All right. All right. Whatever. Savage Patriots will be on today, 6:30. We will be discussing the fires. And we have a couple of points to bring up. People have already made them, I'm sure, but we do have a different way of fleshing things out that most people don't, because we have such a dichotomy of guys on the panel that have a different view about. So we'll be kind of shooting at these fires from different angles to see if we can get our trajectory to figure out what the core is. Okay. Too Strong might be on live tonight. We do have something of a anomaly to discuss. More of a broad discussion about the penal system from a different perspective. You'll understand it when you show up tonight. If we do it tonight, it might be tomorrow night, but we'll see. We're waiting on a guest to see what his availability is to talk to him about it. So that is why we can't say for sure, but we can say it's a hope. Scrolling at the bottom, you know what to do. Sure. What's the question? What's the question? I didn't see the question. Let me see if I can go back and find it. No, re-ask the question if you don't mind. There's a lot of you can just ask it one more time and I'll try and answer it. If it's answerable by me, I don't know that I can. Sabbath Patriots will be on at 6:30 Eastern. 6:30 Eastern today. If you can show me that, that'd be great, because I haven't found anything like that yet so far. The only difference that I have seen between the NKJV and the KJV is certain olden English terminologies and speech. That's the only difference I have seen so far. I have compared the two. I think the New King James versions make things a little more understandable by way of how language is put together. But I have not seen any salvational differences between the two. I have not seen any translational in terms of such massive differences between the two that you'd be like, I can't read that one and I can't read this one. Now, there are some marked differences between these two and like the NIV, but I have not seen something like that here yet. If you can send me the verse that it says that, that'd be great. I would like to know, so I can, if there is a discrepancy, I can know. Tell me what book, and if you can email me that, Tin, that'd be great. Just send it to me on straight talk mb at outlook.com so I can take a look at it, please. Okay. If you don't mind. Like I said, in my personal reading, it's easy to use it here with the in it, but I use one called the scriptures, so that's the one I normally use, and it's not, again, there's not much difference between the two. There were people asking me which ones I use, and I said the scripture, and then they keep names in its original language and stuff like that. That's about the biggest difference. They lean more towards the speech of pattern of the KJV. But again, if someone can find for me something that's a massive discrepancy, then please let me know. Okay. You can find the scriptures on Amazon. It's just called the scriptures. And if you look and use the Bible app, it's called Scriptures 2009, I believe. Let me find the exact terminology that they have it under here. I think it's TS 2009 when you look for it on here. Yep, TS 2009 is what it will be called in the Bible app. TS 2009. The only reason I don't, because I have the hard copy, I have the book on the app. It doesn't have it spoken out, so you still have to read it. So that's what I would say. If you find discrepancies, again, I keep asking people to do that. If you find something that's like, well, that doesn't make sense, send it. I told you guys, I'm not the scholar, but I do read, and I have not found anything like that yet. So, but again, if I missed it, I missed it. I missed it. I'm bad. So we'll be back tomorrow. Finish the last half of Hosea. Savage Patriot will be on today. And I think that's it. You know what, again, scrolling at the bottom. Assist if you can, assist if he told you to. Make sure you consult with the Lord about it. All things. I'm not saying what you should and shouldn't do. That's not my call. That's his. But I do appreciate all of you. We'll see you guys later today. Wisdom calls to you from the streets. So please, 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 please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight to dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself and no